That's Vice President J.D. Vance defending the federal government's investigation into former National Security Advisor John Bolton, pushing back against Democrats who are calling that raid on Friday on Bolton's home retribution. Remember, the FBI conducted a surprise raid Friday on John Bolton's Maryland home over claims that he sent highly sensitive classified documents from a private email server to his family during the first Trump administration. John Bolton right now has not been charged with any crimes. Joining me now is New York Congresswoman Claudia Tenney, a member of the House Intelligence Committee. Congresswoman, it's great to see you this morning. Thanks so much for being here. What is your reaction to that raid?
Yeah, interesting that John Bolton never said anything about the inappropriateness of raiding Mar-a-Lago because Jack Smith was not properly appointed, as the judge pointed out. So, look, he obviously hasn't been charged. This is part of the investigative process, and they'll see what the documents, what they say, and it'll lead to the justice, unlike what we see in New York under Letitia James, where it's, malicious prosecution, abuse of process repeatedly, and she finally got slapped down by the appellate division. By the way, a left-leaning appellate division, which is good to see that actually justice for all is sometimes being supported in New York State, and that makes me feel good as a member of the New York Bar.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It feels like the chickens are finally coming home to roost, Congresswoman, after 10 years of attacks against President Trump and lies. I spoke with your colleague, Byron Donalds, about it, Congressman from Florida, yesterday. Here's what he said. Watch.
As I understand it, Maria, this was something that was being probed back during the end of the first Trump administration. Yeah. There were concerns that Mr. Bolton was sending classified information out of the SCIF, which nobody is allowed to do. Nobody's allowed to remove classified information, and apparently he was doing that. So this investigation is going to continue. One thing of note, it appears that the Biden administration sat on this information and did nothing. Once again, Democrats weaponizing government against their political enemies as opposed to upholding the law, regardless of where that goes. But I want to be clear. I have a security clearance. I review information in the SCIF. Members of Congress, agency staff, nobody's allowed to remove classified information.
Congressman, I want to move on to the crime crackdown, and the Trump administration reportedly planning to send National Guard troops into Chicago now. Much like what we saw in D.C., Washington being cleaned up right now. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, however, criticizing it, calling it, quote, a manufactured crisis and distraction. More than 900 people have been arrested in D.C. in just 2 weeks since the president's order to send those National Guard troops in there. That includes 5 known gang members and more than 100 illegal guns taken off the streets. Congresswoman, now we see Chicago pushing back. The mayor doesn't want the National Guard troops there. I guess they don't want to control the crime. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think it's great. I mean, I know the Democrats are melting down over this, but look what Kathy Hochul did. We had 2 prisons in New York State overrun by inmates. Imagine that, how bad the situation is. And she brought in the National Guard. Nancy Pelosi brought the National Guard in after January 6th. The National Guard is going to come in and give logistics and assist and help the police be able to enforce the laws. And look how great things are going in Washington, D.C. We've gone 9 days, I think almost 10 days now without a murder. And I've had even my own staffers, actually 3 of them, who one was held up at gunpoint, another one, a bullet grazed his leg. Another one was, almost carjacked down by Navy Yard, which is where I live. I mean, people in D.C. that actually live there are really happy with what's going on. There has to be rule of law. You can't operate a society without rule of law. It affects your business owners, everyone who's trying to live and make a living down in this part of in any of these cities, whether it's Washington, New York. And by the way, I surround Rochester, New York, which is always trending on X because it's one of the largest, most violent cities in the Northeast, and people would never think that. The former home, or still the home of Kodak and Bausch & Lomb and Xerox, all those great companies who've mostly moved out because of the horrible policies in New York State. But a lot of it has to do now with the crime. And this isn't just New York City. This is the crime laws in the state of New York, which are causing this to happen.
And when President Trump talks about Washington, I mean, I get it. This is the nation's capital. I mean, this is the entree into America, and we should make sure that region, at a minimum, is clean and looks perfect. But you're right. I mean, look at all of this crime. Speaking of crime, I want to get your take on this mayoral race. We are 2 months away. Mamdani is winning. I spoke with Andrew Cuomo, former governor, yesterday on Sunday Morning Futures, and he's talking about Mamdani's socialist proposals, saying it's a death knell for the Big Apple. Here's what he said. I got to get your take on this race. Watch.
There has been this internal debate going on in the Democratic Party where you have the extreme left, which are, they are socialists. Let's call it what it is, you know, democratic socialists. No. They are socialists. It's Bernie Sanders, it's AOC, it's Assemblyman Mamdani. And classic socialists. Government should control the means of production. Government should be providing commodities. And as you said, free transportation, free food, free childcare, et cetera. And income redistribution by taxing the rich and taxing the corporations. It's antithetical to New York City to be anti-corporate. As you pointed out, New York City corporations are already high taxed, as are the individuals. And I think it would be a death knell for New York City, and he is dangerous, frankly, for New York City.
Claudia Tenney, your assessment of this race?
Look, I never thought I would say that Andrew Cuomo might be the lesser of two evils. There are other options, but I served under Andrew Cuomo. The Green Light Law in 2019 and a lot of the laws passed under his governorship are what's causing a lot of the problems, and then exacerbated by Kathy Hochul with the so-called criminal justice reforms, the bail reform. All these things are Andrew Cuomo legacies. So, you know, he tends to pander wherever he can get the votes, but he hasn't done a good job in the primary. But the Democrats have a real problem. These Democratic socialists are really Marxists. They are, you know, antithetical to everything we stand for. Our Constitution is about self-reliance, self-governance, not about a top-down government takeover. And I lived in a communist country. I can tell you, it's not going to end well for New York City, which, by the way, affects all of New York. The economy of New York, the financial center, is going to hurt, especially when you see these huge tax-paying billionaires and millionaires and people who are driving the economy leaving in droves. Many of them have already left, but you're going to see even more. So I think it's a real problem. You're going to see the housing market collapse. I know you guys talk about this all the time on this show.
Absolutely.
It's tough. It's going to be really tough for the state of New York, but somehow someone's got to push Mamdani, away from this Marxist ideology and this anti-Semitism, by the way, anti-police mentality, he's talking about nobody needs to serve in prison. No one can be accountable for their crimes. We're going to be doing handouts. It's kind of actually a form of fake populism of just giving everybody everything they want with no accountability. It's not going to end well for New York or New York State.
Curtis Sliwa is the only Republican. He can't seem to catch a bid. What's the story?
I think he's run for mayor a number of times. I got to be honest with you, I love Curtis Sliwa. I wish he would just take his red hat off and run as a new kind of guy. Don't run as your own persona. Run as the new mayor of New York City, not as your other job, because you're looking at a whole new mission running for the city of New York. Although crime is very important and he's a great guy, but it's going to be a tough race. And unfortunately, with too many people on the ballot and too low voter turnout, you're going to end up seeing probably a Mamdani win.
Well, exactly. I think Mamdani's at 40%, Cuomo's at 25%, the other in single digits. Congresswoman, it's great to see you.